to the Astute Engineer. This is the 4th episode, one that I'm really looking forward to. So, I want to introduce you to Geoff Hill, Managing Director of Astute Electronics. Many people will recognise Geoff. We've had many chats over 30 years plus. 1989, you decided to make a change of distribution. What was your vision back then?
Didn't really have a vision, to be honest. The customers suggested that it was a natural move. They encouraged me, and I did it. I had loyal customers and had no aspirations, to be honest, and no expectations. Did it as you do as a 24-year-old with something new and something quite exciting. 1989, I probably didn't expect it to last till 1990, if I'm honest. I mean, that's really the truth of the matter. So
it's interesting, 24-year-old, and I know the story, but your first customer back then is still one of your biggest customers today.
Yes, I mean, my customers at the time were Plessy's, BT, Philips, and Sun Electric. So they're all Plessy now. Obviously, is not Plessy, but it's BAE, Thales, Leonardo as we know it. And
it's quite ironic though when you look at that customer base. People would bite your hand off for it back then, and I think they still would now. So how did the business evolve and transition into being the defence specialist that you're seen as now?
Well, I guess Plessy had a lot to do with it. In those days, in the 80s, there were a multitude of distributors, and it was all based on relationships. And you could set up a company, get approval straight away, and do business if you had a good relationship. Totally different today. You have to go through a whole raft of accreditations, and obviously vendor reduction is the key area that people want to try and achieve as fewer customers with more value. So in the 80s, it was an easy opportunity just to get up and running. Plessy then morphed into, as I said, it was in those days Plessy, GC, Marconi. Plessy became Siemens Plessy. Then you had Racal and Ferranti. So those defence companies were very close knit. So you dealt with one, you dealt with a few, and you got those people in those defence companies stayed there forever. So those relationships stayed the test of time, which was really important to me, as obviously Astute started to have some sustainability and better profile.
Yeah, it's interesting that when you talk about over the years, you've always mentioned about finding value to the customer, but as a business and actually as a person, what do you not compromise on? What do you hold true as value to business?
Well, the only value was the same value as I started off, is the customers come first. They're the ones that pay our salaries today, as they've always done. I wouldn't be here where I am today without my customers. And forever, as long as I'm involved in this business, that will always be the case. It doesn't mean we always see eye to eye and that there aren't some challenges along the way, but I am in absolutely no doubt of why I've been successful. The opportunities that are ahead of us are all made and created by the customer.
Yeah, and I mean, the journey's been incredible. We've now got 24 offices around the world with your latest acquisitions. So talk us a little bit, what was your thought process behind the latest acquisition with Copper and Optic? What was that going to bring additional value?
It's we do a lot of design here. We do a lot of design on cable harnesses, but we don't actually make them, not until today. And obviously, acquiring companies that can do box build and harness manufacturing puts you in another level, especially doing proof building. A lot of, especially where the defence business is now, they're going to need a rapid turnaround of prototypes. They're going to need expertise designing in the right cables and right harnesses for the right reasons. And I think having a cable harness company just extends that capability and value to the customer. And also it's quite exciting. Manufacturing has always been a dark art. something I've steered away from. But I think it was inevitable that we would eventually go down this track. And I have to say, so far, it's a fantastic acquisition, well-run company with a fantastic reputation, which has terrific synergies and alignment with our own values.
Oh, I don't disagree. I think Phil and the team up there are going to add to our offerings. I mean, it is something that surprised me when we went up there last week, but I think a lot of our customers will be able to take advantage of what they got. So if you look at the 35 years plus that you've been in operation and how the industry's evolved, if we look at what you're doing now, take away the cable assembly, take away the broker side that we started out. You've spent the last 10, 15 years transitioning us into a credible alternative for distribution. Where are you seeing it heading now? What's your plans with your technical team?
Well, I think it's offering all of the value-added services under one roof. We obviously started brokering with the obsolescence management, the nitrogen cabinets for long-term storage. We've got AIS, which was the old 3PL, doing the value proposition on kitting and total solution. The design element is really, I look at it as a natural progress to get a heads up on where technologies are going, where the customers, engineers, they're thought-provoking ideas, so we can get ahead of the curve. Otherwise, we're always playing catch-up. Yep. And also, a lot of the innovations and designs and technologies that have been introduced today, they need feet on the street. They need people in certain aspects, whether it's defence and aerospace, high reliability, industrial. They need people to go and sell their product. We can get design win protection. We get that assurity. We can fill the pipeline. And it's a no-brainer for me. Plus all the other things that we offer to customers. So, going back to the 80s when I set up, distribution could only sell American lines. They couldn't sell Japanese in the same one. They couldn't sell competing lines. Yep. So, and of course, they could only have franchises within each country. The world is a different place now. You've got you have to be global or at least pan-European. You can have competing lines. Technology will always win out these days. And having technical capability, feet on the street, relationships, and a good understanding of the market you're selling into has huge value for these new technologies that want to be introduced to that marketplace.
Yeah, and I think when you look at our lineup of franchises, you've got 4 major commodities that you're looking at, but you're also looking at those niche manufacturers. So where's innovation? Where's it going? And what excites you today about these new lines?
Well, I think it's not so much what excites me about it, it's what you don't know. So it's the lines that we don't know. People used to introduce a line and several years later we'd try and sell it on the market and whatever else. Nowadays, somebody wakes up in the morning, they said, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I wonder if we can do this. And then suddenly tech is so available and that they just make it happen. And one of the things that I love today about the way the market is going, I have a big challenge. I suppose everybody has a big challenge in life. Is the biggest commodity, the most valued commodity everybody has or should really crave for is time. I really have a problem sitting on the motorway, especially the M25. I have a problem, ringing up, trying to get an appointment and being held on a call for 20, 30, 40 minutes talking to nobody, or getting an appointment at the local GP, or if you go to A&E, you're in there for, God knows, 18 hours. So time is a precious commodity. Innovations and technologies now, imagine where we've gone from. So we talk about data, we talk about GPS, we talk about Ubers, everything we are doing now should enhance our lives because it will do things smarter. It will take away, when we talk about our customer base, bureaucracy and red tape, the sales prevention officers who are there in force ready to make my life a misery. It's speeding up decision making, but also allowing us to do the things we want to do rather than the wasted time. So design, innovation, technology, this is going to change our lives and shape it for the future. So that's what excites me. We'll be like everybody else. We'll follow the AI and everything else. But actually, to be honest, I mean, we're talking about driverless cars now. We'll goodness knows what's around the corner tomorrow. And honestly, every day is a new day. And I think we should all value that, because it will free us up to do what we want in life and what matters to us.
It's funny, actually, that I was on a recent LinkedIn webinar and talked about innovation, AI, and I made reference to the fact that you're tech Neanderthal. You struggle to open your laptop, but actually you embrace the fact that we need to change. We need to use systems, work smarter. And I know some of the lines we've signed, or Nigel and Simon are talking to, certainly on some of the silicon lines, they are at the leading edge of AI. Does it scare you, AI? I mean, how do you embrace AI?
I think it should scare everybody. I mean, everything that's clever in the world has always been exploited by those who choose to do things illegally. Yeah. And data in the wrong hands is always something we should worry about. But change is coming, and if the right people police it and manage it accordingly, then it'll be phenomenal for us as our everyday lives will change. Imagine that now, you know. I mean, even schools, you know, GCSEs. I mean, I mean, goodness knows it's not going to be the same exams they used to sit. AI is going to have a massive impetus on that. But the reality is, imagine how much they can learn now at the press of a button. They don't have to trawl through libraries and go through books and be told what to learn. I mean, if you have a real craving for knowledge and a thirst for knowledge, it's there at a fingertip.
Yeah, you don't need the encyclopedias anymore. And I think, you know, when we look at how we're embracing AI here, it's bringing all of that research, that knowledge, the mapping out to your doorstep. I mean, when you started out, you had a phone book and a bag of coins, stopped off at the services. Now it's very different. So where are you heading now? As a business, we've got the offices around the world, and I think everyone listening to this, we've spoke 3 or 4 times already with different interviews about the tariffs. Is having all the offices around the world giving you that agility? I mean, I know you didn't think that was the strategy, but is that going to be able to help you?
If we have to navigate our way on behalf of our customers, they will help us. I don't think the tariffs are going to stay around very long.
What's your view on that then?
Nah, it'll be here today, gone tomorrow mentality. Yes, once China come to the table or America go to the table with China, it'll sort itself out. It's an inconvenience. It's unwanted, if I'm honest, and it doesn't give anybody a win situation. But we'll go past it. I mean, I think everyone's learning more about which country of origin, and I think even Trump's learning on the job, if I'm brutally honest. But we'll see how it all pans out. But it's not sustainable. I mean, you'd have to have armies of people to administer the tariffs, and that goes against what he's trying to do with waste and everything else. So I don't think it's going to be. And at the end of the day, if it does, it does, and we have the agility to try and circumvent it. And if we don't, well, you know, unfortunately, everybody will have to contribute.
I don't want to go down the route of politics, but I know you have opinions on things that are going on in the world. And, you know, we woke up this morning and we saw with India and Pakistan, I mean, there's conflict everywhere, isn't there? And as a defence specialist, we are supporting some of the major manufacturers. But how do you think Europe's going to cope with this potential increase in spend?
Well, I think Europe will, as Germany have changed the constitution, is a good example. Europe will go and find the money. They have to go and find the money. They have, for too long, relied on the US. They haven't met their NATO commitments, which I think is really quite embarrassing. So I think in that respect, Trump is absolutely right. But because we can no longer rely on the US, Europe has to come together. It is a real threat now. Whether we look at what's happening in Russia, obviously there are the issues with Iran, even just terrorist We thwarted a terrorist attack in the UK. China's a major threat potentially as well going forward. So we have to spend our money on defence. We can no longer just turn our heads towards America and say they'll look after us. And I think it's healthy that with Brexit, this actually will bring us closer together to Europe, which I think is necessary as well. And I think we'll look at what each country can do as in maritime, in air, in land, and we'll work together to produce what is necessary as a defence, a very forceful defence.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, change has been overdue for sure. But I think one of the biggest challenges, and this is an engineering podcast, and it's really about how we can bring tomorrow's engineer into the defence world. But we know there's a big gap. I mean, there's a lot of engineers that you've known for years have all retired. Yeah. How do we get the youngsters? I mean, how do we make this sexy? How do we entice them into this industry?
It's a good question. And I think the whole industry is struggling to encourage the younger generation of engineers to the table, even the mid-engineers. So I don't know how they're going to overcome it. They're going to have to look at new ways of attracting them. And I think it's obviously very vital now to national security that they bring in those engineers. The other thing is that, especially in the defence business, of course, they would look at a concept and design something. And, you know, things, years gone by, if they design something, by the time it goes into production, you know, you'd be 10, 20 years later. Yeah. Well, that's no longer acceptable. So the speed that designs have to be done these days may change the landscape to attract more dynamic people to the table.
I think you're right. And I think if you look back at COVID, that changed a lot of things. How quickly they rallied around, mobilised to get the generators for the air ventilators. And I think that rapid production is something that's been driven. Part of what the AIS division was also helping with. But I still think there's a huge gap. So is that something that we're going to keep pushing our engineers to, try to bridge that gap and bring the technology to them? And is that where you're heading with that?
I think so. I think you've got to, my philosophy is I can't get enough clever people. And I think that should be everybody's philosophy in every division and every department that we have. The younger generation think and do and act totally different to the way I do. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a dinosaur. But I recognise I'm a dinosaur. Yep. Some of our customers, they have 20-year-old technology roadmaps. Mm-hmm. Do as I've always done, I'll get what I've always got. Yeah. Well, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. So people talk about very, very blue sky thinking and let's rip it up and start again and no idea is a bad idea. And I think that's where the world will change, because we've got to do things differently. We've got to do things faster. We've got to do things smarter. Mm-hmm. We are going to spend money now. And let's make sure we, as a government and as a country, we all spend the money in the right way for the right reasons. And we can help and facilitate that. When we design in for our customers, we make sure, and this is what I say to all our engineers, make sure you design the best technology for our customers, not the ones that we're there to sell. Mm-hmm. It has to be the right technology, because that way the customer's getting free engineering from us. Yep. As well. Mm-hmm. If they design it badly, that will reflect on us as well. So we've got to make sure that we bring the right partners, the right technologies to the right application, and then we see it through with all the other value proposition that we bring to the party. Yeah,
I think you're slightly unique in that thing. You have empowered myself and others who have been here many years. When we were young, it wasn't an age thing, it was just whether you was capable. But there are still those roadblocks in some of our biggest customers that people can't move forward quick enough. But I do think they're changing that decision-making. So where do you see it? The next 3 to 5 years are going to be pivotal, not just for Astute, but I think for European defence. Where do you see it heading? Is it going to be a consolidation of manufacturers, or you've got to keep bringing different value?
You've got to have the agility and the independence to be able to make decisions that you still believe are the right for the customer. And so that independence is crucial as we move forward. I think from customers' perspectives, the next 3 to 5 years, we talk about a global playing field. Mergers and acquisitions are going to be part of the landscape we have to navigate our way through, whether that's OCMs or OEMs or distribution alike. We have to make sure that if there's opportunities for us to grow through acquisition, we can, because organic growth, people often talk about, oh, you know, you do very well, you make a lot of money. That's fine. Make a lot of money, invest a lot of money, then everyone wins.
Yep.
Make a lot of money and just take it and put it in your pocket, nobody wins. So for us, reinvestment and maybe through acquisition, through assets, taking on better and better people. I mean, that's part and parcel of an acquisition process. Our defence customers are going to buy technologies. They're cash rich. They're going to go and buy technologies left, right, and centre. So they're going to acquire more and more companies. They're going to then have to, you know, align those with their own companies' values and whatever in their supply chain. So we have the next 3 to 5 years is going to be very, very dynamic, but it's going to be very global. And that's the key difference to when we set up in '89. We were UK-centric for many, many years. People don't talk about one country anymore. It's what are we doing in Australia, or what are we going to do in the Middle East, or in Europe, or the US, or Asia. You have to talk about that because it impacts everybody.
And it's a really good point. I mean, if you think of our global reach now, the way that we're joining up the group, I think the next 3 to 5 years are exciting. But you also do a lot of work with the armed forces, the charities. That gets you some exposure to some pretty key decision makers. And, you know, the actual theatre has changed now. I mean, the battlefield's changed. So they must also look at what you're doing and see that to complement getting that, turning around their ideas as quick as possible. Is that their challenge now?
I think their challenge is on so many different levels. You know, they've got their primes that they obviously spend the money with. Their key challenge is how do we spend taxpayers' money efficiently? That's their first problem. Yep. You know, because we never believed that we'd see tanks going down streets as we have in Ukraine. Yep. So the landscape's changed. Governments don't want to see body bags coming back. So anything that we can do as far as they talk about variety of technologies where you can locate where the hostiles are, and the drones is, of course, a fantastic opportunity to do a whole raft of different things. So I think from that point of view, when we talk about technologies and things, I think we're into a really interesting time. And I think every day is going to be different.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, when you look at the development of the drones, and, you know, really recently saw the one that can lift 400 kilos. And 400 kilos of payload is one thing, but actually that could then be used in saving lives. You know, you can actually use that and repurpose that completely different, that technology. It's an interesting time. So, you know, one of the things that my team wanted me to ask you, which is interesting, you have been doing this a long while. You've given a lot of opportunities to people. You have reinvested back into the business. You've actually caused a lot of people liver and kidney problems over the years as well. But what do you want to be the legacy of you, Astute? Well, what do you see as your legacy?
I think the legacy would be that customers value us and they see us as a unique proposition. And I think for our staff, they remember fondly all their years that they spent at Astute, what we accomplished, the times we had, the enjoyment and the success, and as much as anything, how much they learnt about themselves on the journey. And I think that's the legacy, really. I mean, a lot of things aren't, you know, everyone talks about numbers these days and turnovers and EBITDAs or whatever else. But fundamentally, when I started in '89, I never believed I would have an opportunity to influence and change the biggest industry in the world. I now have a seat at that table. Whether anyone listens to me is probably debatable, but I still have that opportunity, and I'm not going to waste it by not valuing that. And our business now has gone from a reactive to a proactive activity. We now have a voice, we have an opinion, we have huge experience. I mean, you look at our team, my goodness, the amount of people that have done 20 to 30 years. Now, that is experience, and that is very valued because we've been through the peaks and troughs, we've seen the changes, and I would expect customers and suppliers alike to want to talk to us about what we believe the future will hold, and the challenges, how to meet them. And I think we're well positioned to do exactly that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's interesting that kind of introduced to close things off about books that people would recommend. And I always remember, I don't know how many years ago this was, but a sales day, I think you'd been away to Mauritius and you'd read The Seven Deadly Sins. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it stuck with me, it resonated with me for such a long time that one of the biggest sins, at the time I didn't think about greed. And actually, if you harness that greed and you strive for what it means and what it truly means, actually, it's quite powerful. Any other books of inspiration you've read since then that you would?
Not really. I mean, I think that I'm always learning by, reading or watching news and trying to make sense of it all. Unfortunately, these days you have to try and make your own versions up of if you believe always what you read. I'm afraid you'll probably go mad.
Yep.
So I think you're always learning. You're always trying to make sense of something that's happened, so that you can get ahead of the game by saying, actually, that happened because of then. So therefore, in business, if you make a mistake, no harm in making mistakes as long as you learn from them and you put it to good use. Keep making the same mistake, then you tend to have some challenges, I suspect, or may not have a job, probably either way.
Yeah.
But I think in business, as in life, if you have a real thirst for knowledge, then whatever book it is you read or whatever person you listen to, all it does is enhances your ability to have an opinion. And if the more it is, the more valued that opinion is, the more people will listen to you. It doesn't mean you have to be right. It just means you're not a sheep.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think knowledge is everything, isn't it?
It's very, very important.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. Thanks very much for your time.
Worries. Thank you.
Obviously, we are always prepared for feedback. You can leave messages on the socials. Any ideas you got for the next session, we will be continuing this, and hopefully we can bring some value to you, the listeners. Thanks a lot.